Everyone, thanks for tuning in here. We got Mike from ClearBlue Ionizer with us today.
Hi there.
And I thought, we've known each other for a couple of years now, and I just gotta say you're a hell of a guy. I've always enjoyed talking with you, and I think the product that you have is very unique, and I think a lot of people will benefit from using it. And so I'd really like to help educate our audience on what the ClearBlue Ionizer is, kind of get a background story of it too, because it's a pretty cool story. So I want you to share that, and then we'll have a little chat and hopefully answer some questions along the way. All right.
Sounds good.
So can you just starting off, can you just share us a little bit on the story of how the ClearBlue Ionizer came to be? Because it's a pretty cool story in my opinion. So
sure. Yeah. So I guess this is going back, I think it was 2004 or something, like 16 years ago now-ish, which is kind of crazy. But my father-in-law actually invented the system, and some of you would know Sabrina, who's my wife. It was her and her dad that originally started the company. And back in 2003, 2004, somewhere in there, my father-in-law was sitting at a naturopath office, just waiting for his appointment, and got to chatting with the guy next to him. And it was an older guy that had discovered this technology of mineral ionization, I guess specifically silver copper ionization, which was developed in the 60s for NASA, for the space program, the Apollo program, to purify drinking water in space. So they got to chatting, and this guy had come up with a solution to use it for swimming pools. And it wasn't a brand new idea at that time. There was another company in the States that had spun off directly from NASA to do it. So it was kind of borrowed from that company, I guess, that idea. It was a public domain idea. So this guy, I don't know his name, was talking to my father-in-law. My father-in-law realized that this is something he could easily cook up, being an electrical device. He's an electrical engineer, so he cooked one up in his lab and stuck it on his pool at their cottage on Lake Erie, and they were just blown away by how well it worked. And their friends and family and neighbors and people they rented the cottage to and everything would all comment on how clear the water was and how little chemicals were required, and they just liked how the water felt so much and everything, that it kind of just spread slowly and steadily from there, starting with just building them for friends and family, and then building them, selling them on eBay, and then going through the whole PMRA Health Canada process and starting to get into the whole trade show circuit and all that stuff. But it's only really been the last like 5 or so years that it's been focused on as a primary business. It was always kind of like a little side project for the first 10 years. And then just recognizing that it was kind of taking off and selling, and people were just kind of referring other customers, we decided that, hey, this is a viable business on its own. And that in 2017, my wife and I spun off the ClearBlue product from her dad's company. And so it's been about 3.5 years almost now that we've been marketing it as a standalone business. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story, and it's been one of those things that's taken a really long time to get where we are now. But it's the last 2-3 years for sure. It's really started to pick up steam, both in Canada. Canada, it's been about 5 years now. It's really been picking up, and now in the States in the last 2-3 years, it's really picking up. So yeah, it's a cool product and a cool story.
Wow. And just looking at some of the videos on your website and that, I think it's really cool. The one, it's like an illustrated video that you have. It's talking about, the technology for the ClearBlue Ionizer has been around for like centuries, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There was an article actually that a couple of people sent me just a couple of weeks ago related to the COVID thing, about how copper, so it uses silver, copper, and zinc, and they're all just pure minerals, and they're blended together, and the minerals are released into the water, and they fight bacteria and algae, and they basically kill microorganisms in the water. This article around COVID was related to copper and how the virus can't live on copper. It just explodes on contact with copper, and it's something to do with the properties of the copper molecule itself. It's been around since like the Roman times. Like the Vikings, the Romans, they all used to use copper and silver to keep algae off their boats and to keep water pure. And they use silver water jugs and copper water jugs and things like that, because they just found that the water in those jugs just happened to taste better and smell better. And the copper on Viking ships would keep the algae off the ships, so they, otherwise they get all slimy and green and start getting eaten away and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the type of thing that was discovered thousands of years ago and just been harnessed in different ways over the years.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I think I'd like you to send me those articles, because with everything going on today, that's definitely something worth sharing.
Yeah, the COVID thing's cool. Like they're talking about experimenting in hospitals and making all the common contact surfaces out of copper, like bed frames and doorknobs and stuff like that, because it just magically kills microorganisms, and it doesn't make, it's not like using a drug or a chemical that they become resistant to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. I'll definitely send you that.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, that's pretty neat. When it comes to different systems that you can use on a pool, what kind of benefits would you say the ClearBlue Ionizer has as compared to something like a regular chlorine generator or a salt generator?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think everyone wants two things from their pool. One is less chemicals, and for obvious reasons, the other one's less maintenance. So really what these systems are designed to do, and I'll put our system in the category of alternative sanitizers, along with UV, ozone, I guess salt could throw in there. AOP is a newish one. We're all trying to do the same thing, which is reduce the amount of chemicals, chlorine and other chemicals that you need to maintain your pool, and just reduce the amount of maintenance for the homeowner. So the way we go about that is essentially by using the minerals to fight bacteria and algae in the water. Each of these different sanitizers use a different method. Like UV is somewhat similar, like it's killing bacteria and microorganisms in the water as the water passes through the UV chamber. Ozone uses, and AOP, they use a bit of a different approach where they're focused more on the oxidizing, so burning up organic material, which it kills microorganisms as well, but it's more effective than minerals or UV at actually oxidizing like lotions and sunscreens and other organics. But the net result is essentially the same. You can reduce the chlorine down to about 0.5 part per million from about 1 to 3. So say 40-50% reduction of chlorine. And then in our case, like you don't need algicide, you don't need as much pH balancing chemicals. So I would say versus salt, the biggest difference is there's way less chlorine. And as you all know, if you've worked with salt, sometimes the chlorine can go insanely high. If it's not properly maintained, the pH can go super high. So you have more chlorine in the water, you need to balance the pH more frequently. And so salt is really just, as you all know, is just another way to deliver chlorine to the water. So you're not really saving on chemicals per se. So that's a big difference between minerals and salt. Is the minerals, you're getting much less chlorine and other chemicals required to maintain it. The big difference between us and the UV and ozones of the world is just, I'd say, is just the overall value. Like if you look at the price of some of those systems, they're like $2,000-$3,000 for the homeowner, whereas ours caps out at about $1,200. So the value to the homeowner, really what you're buying with an alternative sanitizer is a reduction of chlorine. And they're all giving you the same reduction down to 0.5 part per million. There's no way to get lower than that. So what are you paying for that 0.5 part per million? And ClearBlue is a clear winner in terms of the overall value there.
Wow. That's a great way to look at it. Now you had said when we were talking at the Niagara show You had said that you can use it in conjunction with a salt generator as well if you chose to do that.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So if you already have a salt system, then you just, a lot of people just keep using it, and you just dial down the chlorine generation so you have less chlorine. And actually it helps pay for, the system actually pays for itself in the long run because you get that much more life out of the salt cell.
Yeah.
And because it's dialed down.
I was talking with someone the other day. We were trying to figure out. So if you had, so let's say you were going to plumb in a ClearBlue Ionizer with a salt system. How would you go about doing that? Like, would you have the ionizer and then the salt system and then go to the pool, or would you reverse it, or what would you recommend for that?
We always recommend putting the salt system as the last thing. So our system would go before the salt system. Otherwise, if there's no salt cell, we would typically recommend that our system's at the end of the return line.
Yep.
If you have an inline chlorinator, then it can go before or after. It's really up to you, or up to the configuration of the piping and stuff. But yeah, for sure, for salt, we'd recommend putting the salt chlorinator at the end, because that, as you know, the pure chlorine that comes out of there is pretty harsh.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking, but figured I'd ask you just to make sure.
It doesn't actually make a huge difference, but that's just the ideal recommended way, I guess.
Would you put like a check valve in between those two then, or would you just leave it as is?
Generally, no. Like, I don't really know that much about salt systems and how to set them up, but you would set it up, the salt system, however you normally would, and then the ClearBlue goes just in. It just plumbs in with a T before it, so there's no need for any kind of check valve or flow valve or flow switch from our perspective. But you'd have to set up the salt system however it's designed.
Because I know when, at least for Hayward, if you have a heater and then a salt cell and you don't have a check valve, it'll void the warranty on the heater. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't sure if you needed a salt cell or a check valve, not only after the heater for that, but if you needed one in between your ionizer and the cell.
Yeah, like from what we've seen, well, first of all, the minerals have absolutely no effect on any equipment or anything like that, so there's no issue with that. But we haven't really seen any issues with the salt chlorinator affecting it in any major way either. So yeah, as far as I know, there's no requirement for that.
Cool. Is there any warranty on the ClearBlue Ionizer systems?
Yeah, there's a really good warranty on the controller. So it's a 5-year warranty. The mineral cell, it comes with one cell that lasts about 6 to 12 months, depending on the pool size and the model and whatnot. And there's no warranty on that because it's designed to wear away, and there's a lot of factors that determine how fast it wears away. So we don't really give any guarantees on that, but typically you get 6 to 12 months. And then the controller has a 5-year warranty, so it's really good. And if there's any problems with the controller, we ask that the homeowner call our 800 number directly. And then, because we can just troubleshoot with them really quickly, and we know what issues we're dealing with. And then if we determine that there's a problem, we just collect we just ask for a photo of the serial number as proof of purchase. And then by the serial number, we can determine the warranty. And then if there's a problem, we just get their contact information, their shipping address and stuff, and ship them a new controller right to their home. And usually within a week or two. And then it's easy enough to just hook up. It's not like a difficult install or anything. So usually the homeowner just swaps out the controller and away they go. Nice.
I had a question pop in my mind when you were talking there, and now I forget it. So
if
I remember it, I will come back to that. But I guess where can you use the ClearBlue Ionizer? Like, can you put it on like in grounds, on grounds, above grounds, spas, all of the above? Are there preferred systems for each, or?
Yeah, so it works on anything from 200 gallons, which is like, I don't know, like 1,000 liters or so, or maybe a bit less, and up to 40,000 gallons, which is 150,000 liters. So anything over 40,000 gallons, you'd either need two systems or you'd use something a bit more heavy duty. And there are three models. There's a hot tub model, and then there's the 25,000 gallon pool model and the 40,000 gallon pool model. So you just need to get the one that's the right size, and it doesn't really matter what type of pool. Like, it's been every type of pool over the years, like concrete and vinyl liner, fiberglass, pretty much every type of pool, all types of above ground pools. In the States, we have a dealer that puts them on the Doughboy pools, and Doughboy really likes us because they do a lot of steel pools, and there's no issue or risk of any kind of corrosion or damage to them. So there's some dealers that actually extend the warranty of Doughboy with the ClearBlue. If you buy the ClearBlue system, you get an extended warranty because it keeps the liner that much longer, it keeps the frame that much better as opposed to salt, which still a lot of people want. So yeah, there's the three models, and it's really any type of hot tub. This works great on swim spas as well. Hydro Pool installs them in the factory on the Jacuzzi swim spas now for the past year or two. Over 2 years now, I guess. So any type, and then we have Clearwater Spas in Seattle area that installs them on regular size spas, and tons of the cedar hot tub manufacturers put them on. And then for pools, probably I'd say the majority of them is it's probably 50-50 above ground and in ground on the pool side.
Okay. I remember the question I was going to ask you momentarily. So with the cell, when you initially put it on your pool, you should expect that first cell to wear down a lot faster than the ones following it, right? Yeah,
definitely. Especially with the 40,000 gallon model. And the only difference between the two models is the output. So it just outputs minerals faster with the 40,000 gallon model. And that's just so that it can increase the level faster and so that it can maintain the level better with more water.
Yeah.
But the first cell always goes quicker because it ramps up the minerals in the water. So that takes more of the cell to ramp them up. But then they stay very stable. Like even over the winter, if you close for the winter, it doesn't drop off completely over the winter. So let's say you start at 0.4 parts per million in October, or whenever you close it, you're still going to be around at least 2.2 parts per million in the spring. So then you're starting from a much higher point when you reopen versus when you first fill. So yeah, and especially with the A850 is the part number for the 40,000 gallon model. We definitely recommend that you advise the customer that the first one's only going to be like 3 months. And then if it's longer than that, they're happy. But if it's shorter, if you say 6 months and it's only 3 months, then they get upset. And that can happen on a large pool. So yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah, I know when we've sold them to dealers, I always recommend getting a replacement cell with this system just because of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a good idea. We always recommend, especially for the 850, to sell an extra cell with it or give it to them as part of the package, because the first one does go pretty quick especially on the bigger one.
Cool. And you can get them. I learned this in the past year here that you can get these different models. You can get them wired for 240 and 110, right? Yeah,
and actually this year we have just one part number that does both, which is great. So it's, in the past it was two different SKUs, 120 and 240 were different SKUs, but now it's just one. So there's the A800 NP is the part, and that's for pools up to 25,000 gallons with any power now, so 120 or 240. And if you have a 240 volt panel and you want to hardwire it into a breaker or something, you just snip off the plug and wire it in. So,
okay.
So yeah, it works so the stuff coming through, like your latest order, that will have all the new boards. So it's auto sensing, and it says right on the box and right on the controller in the back of it if it's that is that version.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's much better. It's a pain in the butt to try to manage all the different variations.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, I see Miguel is on here, and I want to. He's got a great testimonial, and I wanted him to share it here. So
awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
unmute you, Miguel.
Hi, Miguel.
Are you there?
Hi, Mike. Nice to see you. Thanks for doing it. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for hosting this, Steve. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So Steve and I were discussing last week. I actually installed a ionizer on my lawyer's pool with a 10-foot deep end. For years, we never saw the bottom drain screws, or could barely see the cap on it. And finally, last year, for the first time, we were able to see the screws down at the bottom. So that was kind of the guinea pig pool for us, and the results were fantastic.
Cool.
So then we've been pushing the product quite a bit.
Awesome. Yeah. It's amazing how clear the water is. It's always one of the first things people say. And
I do have a question, Mike. You may have gone over it. My phone rang there, so I apologize. But obviously, the ionizer will not produce any residual chlorine in the pool. Is there a preferred sanitizer to use in tandem with it? Pucks, chlorine, granular, liquid, or a salt system?
There isn't really a preferred method. So obviously, there's all different ways to do it, and it depends on where you are and what your kind of area normally does and who's in the area to buy products and stuff like that. But in Canada, we've probably had the most success with the SaniMark line. So they have a zinc tablet that's branded as Z-Puck or Z-Puck. And the IPG group has the Aquafoot product, which is the same thing. That's been probably in Canada the most frequently used, just because we've had a number of large dealers that have sold that for years. But the BioGuard stuff has been also really good. I guess the key thing is that the best way to do it, we find, is the slow dissolving tablets, just because it's easier to maintain a low level of residual with a slow dissolving tablet, stabilized tablet, versus just like straight up liquid chlorine. But if you're on a weekly service and you're testing your chlorine on a weekly basis, liquid's fine. So kind of depends on your situation. But I think in Canada, the slow dissolving stabilized chlorine tablets by SaniMark and BioGuard have been the biggest ones.
That's great. Just to add on to that, Mike, I think I missed this part again, but there's no issue using an inline or an offline chlorinator with the ionizer. The reason I'm asking is my concern is dropping pucks into the skimmer, damaging the skimmer barrel, the PVC, and also the pump impeller at the other end.
Yeah, definitely. Inline or offline chlorinator is definitely better because it's just easier too. You just fill it up and dial it down, and you kind of find the number that maintains the 0.5 to 1 part per million chlorine, which is like 2 or 3 usually, and that's it. And you just fill it up and once a month or two or whatever, and yeah, that's better. And we do have people that put the pucks in the skimmer, and because they're so it's one per week, it's just one per week, or even one every other week on a smaller pool. So it's not like the same damage to the PVC and equipment as you would get like without a ClearBlue, because you're putting like 3-4 times as much. But yeah, definitely online or offline chlorinator is better.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Miguel. I'm gonna put you back on mute again here for the time being. Right at the end, if you guys have any other questions, we'll open up the lines, and then you can ask away there. There's also a chat as well. If you find that at the bottom of your page, you can write as well. Anyways, I got a couple more questions here for you, Mike.
Sure.
And then we'll get to, we'll open it up to see if anyone else has any questions. No, I guess we kind of went over some of them. So where can people find more information on the ClearBlue Ionizer, and what do you recommend? Going to the website, YouTube page, Facebook? contacting you? What's the best method here for finding out more?
Yeah, I mean, our website's great. It's mineralpools.com. We just landed that domain recently, which is cool. So that's pretty much all the information you need, and it has links to all our YouTube and Facebook and all stuff like that. We're pretty active on Instagram. I wouldn't say we're super active on Facebook, but we'd like to be. We just haven't gotten that set up really yet. And definitely you can contact me anytime. So the contact page of the website, there's a contact form, which goes to me. And the phone number, if you call the main hotline and dial extension 1, that's me as well. So it says if you're a pool professional type of thing, press 1, and that goes to me. So that's if you need to contact me, definitely that's easiest. And for sure, just email me or call me anytime. I'm happy to help. But yeah, check out our website because it is a pretty good resource, and I think it's definitely one of the better websites in the industry for pool equipment. It's not exactly the high bar, but but yeah, it's a pretty good resource.
I can attest to that. I do. When I have visited the website, I've been very impressed because it's easy to access videos, and you got the information like right there as you scroll down, which is really handy.
Yeah, and I think it's a good tool for selling to customers too. If they're like, "Oh, what is this thing?" and you can send them to the website, and it's a good overview for customers. So it's a good sales tool. For sure.
All right, that's actually all the questions that I had for you. So I'm going to unmute everyone here. So if you guys have any more questions, then by all means. I don't know why Miguel is staying muted, but anyways, if you guys have any,
I got myself.
Aha.
I got kids screaming in the background.
Gotcha. But I know for contacting you, I know again when Miguel and I were talking, he had said that you have excellent customer service.
Yeah, that's great. No, we definitely strive for that. We try to answer the phone whenever people call, and it's actually been a bit of a issue since the COVID thing because our VoIP system, I guess, just the internet's been overloaded or whatever. Mm-hmm. Plus all the VoIP people are at home and stuff. But yeah, definitely like call and email too. Email, we're really responsive as well. So if you prefer to contact that way, then we're always on that too. So yeah, we definitely want to be out there, especially this time of year when people are getting rolling. We get quite a bit of support calls, so we're definitely happy to help.
Cool. Anything else from anybody? All right. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you jumping on this call with me. I know we went through some technical difficulties, as that's I was saying to you earlier. That's usually what happens come game day. There's something electrical that goes wrong. But anyways, we were able to do it over Zoom here, and we can post this to our Facebook page a little bit later. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday to join us today and answer some questions and give us a little bit more of a background on the ClearBlue Ionizer. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it's been very informative.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I really appreciate having me on here, and nice to meet you, Miguel. Definitely let me know if you have any questions, and for sure, I'm always available. So thanks again, Steve. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, Miguel.
All right, everybody. Have a happy Saturday and stay safe.